好，那我们接下来是今天的最后一场，那主持人是我们报道者的营运长雪莉。好，那我们现在就把时间交给雪莉。
好，谢谢静云。然后大家有喝杯咖啡，让自己脑袋清楚一下，因为我刚刚听了5个人，我就觉得还好，我这一场只有4个人，然后我们可以开放多一点的时间给大家。然后我刚刚跟所有的 panelists 说，我们这一场的 mission 只有一个，就是 controlling time 所以他们会在15分钟内结束他们的 presentation， 然后每一个人最多 plus 2分钟。我是一个很严格的编辑哈，所以我也是一个很严格的 moderator。刚刚上一场的 panel， 我觉得听了有很多的学习，然后每一次在这一年的卓新的研讨会里面，我感觉就像一个大补帖一样。然后上一场呢，我听到来自South Korea 的 Mr. Lee，Slow News 的 founder。我觉得他给我一个很大的就是 positive 的 feedback。他说，在这个时代呢，小媒体可以生存哦，所以像报道者这只有50几个人哦，现在是比较容易生存的哦 ，is a good news。好，那接下来我会用英文做开场介绍，然后上半场4位讲者会各讲15分钟，就像我刚刚说的，会再增加2分钟的延长，这是至多哦。然后我们希望能够花更多时间跟台下的朋友们交流。那下半场呢，我会用中文来引导提问，也欢迎大家利用 Slido 来提问。那如果有需要英文翻译的朋友们，就请你们戴上耳机。Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this panel. I'm Sherry Lee from The Reporter. It's my pleasure to moderate this panel with many excellent journalists and friends here. 20 years ago, when the internet emerged, tech companies took away our advertisement revenues. But at least the readers stay, right? So now with AI, Google AI overview, even the readers are slipping away. So now we journalists feel that we are standing on quicksand. So you can feel how far we have drifted away from our readers. To explore the drift, we are now joined by 4 outstanding speakers. We met last night, and it was struck by how diverse the backgrounds of the 3 international guests. They are not major in journalism. Vaidi, Jean-Marc, and Ben Wampan, but his nickname is Ben, so Ben. Their backgrounds are not journalism, not like Jobin and I. None of the 3 majors in journalism. Their paths are truly interdisciplinary, ranging from engineering, finance, economics. So our panel today, I think this is a third panel today. The focus and the title is The Growing Disconnect, How Trust and Interest in News are Declining. 中文标题是远离新闻，流失中的读者信任和兴趣。刚刚上一个the previous panel, I remember Zhang Li mentioned that technology is everything. I still have some question about is that real? Although AI is a contributing factor, how about the news outlet? How about the newsroom? Do we really know our readers? So that's this panel want to dig into. It's a very cruel reality. No matter how good your work is, if it isn't seen, it doesn't exist. But except the AI, how can we know more about our readers? Are we too arrogant to know our readers? So this panel, when we talk about news avoidance, what worries us may not just be that readers are not interested, but that this lack of interest is causing them to stop engaging with shared sources, to stop encountering the same versions of facts. And the farther we drift from a shared sense of truth, the harder it becomes to sustain any kind of shared social foundation. 所以我们这一场会特别着重在他们所看到的读者面到的改变。到底新闻是真的只是因为科技的关系远离了我们的读者，还是我们的新闻是还在一个不够谦虚的状态，对我们的读者的了解并不够认识？而对于读者远离新闻这件事情，其实它只是一个 what 的现象。我们想要问更多的是为什么会发生，以及如果发生了，其实它对我们的 impact 是什么？因为大家都不会再 share the same fact. 好，那第一位读者，我想要welcome Wang Peng Ben. He's an editor at the 101.world. The 101.world is an independent media outlet and doesn't rely on advertisement. If you look at the 101.world, you can see a very bright website and very innovative. And Ben is also host their YouTube and the podcast. Of course, you can see he is the youngest among us, and I guess he's also the youngest among all the panelists. Let's welcome Ben.
Thank you very much, and hello again. Welcome to this session. And today I'm going to talk about three major topics. Firstly, is about news fatigue and news avoidance, and the second about the filter bubbles and the polarized media landscape, and the last one is like about the trust in media and media integrity. And of course, I would let you explore it in the context of Thailand from the perspective of my media organization, the 101.world. But firstly, let's start with the first one about the news fatigue in Thailand. According to this year digital news report from the Reuters Institute, it shows that 41% of Thai people say they avoid the news sometimes or often, and that's almost half of the population and quite close to the global average. But unfortunately, the report doesn't explain why Thai people avoid the news. There's no reason mentioned. So that is something that we still need to study more in depth. But still, there are some related findings by the Thai Educational Institute, NIDA polls. The survey show that Thai people are especially interested in political news, particularly during the major political turning point. If you follow Thai politics, you would see it's like roller coaster, right? And we saw the higher interest in political news of Thai people, especially like, for example, in March 2023, just right before the general election, and then again in August 2024, after the Progressive Move Forward Party was dissolved. Yeah, and a new prime minister took office, Paetongtarn Tan, and now she is suspended. So I guess right now people going to be interested in Thai politics again. From what I have observed, Thai people care quite deeply about politics. Yeah, and the political conversations on social media about politics are very active from my observation, and of course. There are some people saying they are tired of politics or bored by it. But when big events happen, they quickly return to following the news. But I would say news fatigue isn't the biggest issue in Thailand. But what concerns more, especially when it goes to issues about interest in political news, the biggest issue is this. Is the issue of the filter bubble or the echo chambers, whatever you may say. Because in Thailand, the political landscape is deeply polarized for many years. So in this diagram is come from a 2023 study by the Digital Election Analytic Lab, which I took a little part in this report. It shows, you may see, it shows how social media users mostly engage with influencers and media with match their political views. Like they just cluster together. And yeah, and this is quite worrying for Thai media because like when the audience are polarized, they tend to follow only the outlets or the influencers that confirm their beliefs. And they don't listen to those who are opposed their view. And even worse, many also trust political influencers more than professional journalists, because some people even accuse credible media of being biased, just because the facts don't align with their views. They reject those reports outright and label the outlet as like political motivated or funded by certain parties. This is what's happening in Thailand, right? For example, our media, the 101.world, we also always label as in like anti-monarchy or anti-establishment. We also experience things like that, and this makes our job difficult, especially when we are trying to reach the massive audience, when we are trying to reach the conservative audience. For example, yeah, some like they don't like to listen to us, and there are many times that they attack us when they saw some content that's opposed to their view. And we are not alone, of course. Many Thai media also face the same thing. Like people from all sides question the neutrality of the media. And yeah, and let me show you this survey. It's conducted by NIDA poll as well. It's asked people whether they think Thai media is neutral. So you will see that the results are nearly split, like about almost 50-50. Like about half of Thai people think media are neutral, and the other half think they are biased, right? Oh, sorry. Yeah, and also the same poll also shows that the neutrality is, yeah, this is, yeah, maybe this, sorry. Maybe it's lost. This one, sorry, yeah. The same poll also shows that the neutrality is one of the biggest concern among the Thai audiences, and many think, yeah, you can see the many about 30% of Thai people think the media are biased. Yeah, but that's not all. You can see that overall the public perception towards the Thai media isn't very positive. Many people believe that Thai media they like to on the top, they like to stir up the issues, they like to sensationalize the stories, or they like exaggerate the stories. Yeah, and the second one, they think the media are biased. And the third, they think they think many times Thai media like to spread disinformation and they do a lack of verification. And also, Thai people think that Thai media prioritize their own interests over the public interest. So the bigger question is, do people still trust in Thai media? This is the bigger question that we need to ask. I would show you the other survey by the Reuters Institute. According to this survey, Thailand's media trust score in this year is like about 55%, and that's and Reuters mentioned that is actually quite high if you compare to the global and regional average, right? And if you view it overall since 2021, you can see it's fluctuated just around like above 50%, so it's quite high compared to global average. But in my view, although from this report it's quite high, but it cannot be denied that there is still a growing sense of doubt among Thai people towards the intricacy of the media, right? Because right now there are many people in Thailand complaining that the Thai media is becoming less professional and also less ethical, and there are reasons behind this. One of the reasons is I think it's one of the most important reasons. It is the rising competition in the Thai media industry, because today, like many media outlets, both online and offline, many are struggling to survive because of very high competition. So in order to survive, they have to fight to get the engagement from the public, from the audiences. And that often means they are focused on getting engagement, on getting clicks on the social media, and as a result, so in Thai social media, like we can see the media outlets like to use the sensational headlines to catch the people's interest, or worse than that, they may use a kind of clickbait. Yeah, and also they like to produce content that sacrifice accuracy for attention. I mean, because of high competition on the online landscape, each media outlet need to be the quickest. They need to be the first. When there is some breaking story, they need to be the first. And there are so many times that is lack of verification. They just publish first. but they never verify. So there are many times that they publish the fake news. They publish information or sometimes misleading information. And that happens very often, or sometimes, or not sometimes, many times. Thai media, like they like to copy the Facebook posts of, for example, politicians or influencers. They just copy and paste on their on their fan page or on their website. They just do like that without any further analysis or any fact checking. Yeah, so this is the reason why the integrity of the media is highly questioned in this era. And the other thing is that like the in-depth and investigative journalism, which I think is essential to the public interest, is also pushed aside because they focus more on the topics that people interest, like the tabloid news, like gossip news, for example. So they do less of investigative news and in-depth news. And another concern for Thai media today is that it is the growing influence of the private companies. Because, as I said, the competition is very high, so it's hard for Thai media to find funding or to find the sponsorship. So that's why media outlet often relies, Thai media outlet need to rely more on the sponsorship from whoever can give them, especially the big conglomerate or the private company. So this make Thai media need to concede a lot to the private companies. Like for example, they like to publish the advertorials without the clear labeling, for example, and there are many times Thai media avoid reporting the negative story about their sponsor, and that sponsor always like sometimes they threaten the media to withdraw the news, or else you would be withdraw our sponsorship, for example. And in some case, the companies even sue the media outlet in order to silence the media. And we call this the SLAP, or it's shortened for strategic lawsuit against public participation. Yeah, although in many cases the media can win the case, but on the way, like Thai media, like they need to spend a lot of time. They need to sacrifice their mental health to fight in the court until they win. But that's not worth it for the Thai media. And beyond the commercial influence, there is also pressure from the state as well, especially since the junta era. The media freedom has declined. And some outlets now practice the self-censorship to avoid punishment, to avoid being fined, or to avoid being suspended their operation. And all of this threaten their already fragile finance. Yeah, so all these reasons, because of all of this, like it put the serious limits on the media's role as a watchdog. And right now, there is a new challenge. Of course, many have said about that. It is the AI, or artificial intelligence. So I asked, how does AI affect trust in Thai media? I would go again to the study from the Reuters Institute. The study found that nearly 40% of Thai people feel comfortable with news that is generated by AI, as long as there is some human oversight. And surprisingly, that is the second highest rate in the world after India. Yeah, but it's the 39% isn't a majority of the people, but it has raised concern among the Thai media because many experts worry that the public may not fully understand the risks of the AI-generated disinformation, and so far there haven't been any. So far there haven't been any major cases about fake news generated from AI in Thailand. No case about that yet, but this needs to be watched closely. This needs to be watched very closely. Yeah, so yes, the media in Thailand faces a lot of challenges today, and it's harder than ever for them to uphold their integrity. But for our media, the 101.world, we are trying our best to um, to stay true with our missions. Yeah, why many outlets are attempt to pull away from the public interest. We try to be like one of the oasis, like where the people can find the quality content or the content which serve the public good. And we can do this, actually we can do this because we rarely rely on private sponsor or advertising like what she said before. Even when we receive the government-related organization funding, we always ensure that our editorial decision remain independent from them. Yes. Talking about our funding, it comes from a mix of local of international sources. Which help us a lot to maintain our integrity and to stay sustainable. Yeah, but right now we are facing the hardship because we rely a lot on the US funding, and right now you may see from the news that is being suspended. So right now not only 101.world but many independent media, many high quality media are struggling for this, and we need to trying to survive in this circumstance in order to uphold integrity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. 刚刚 Ben 分享了几个，就是说在泰国的政治环境下，大家对于政治新闻还是蛮有兴趣，特别是在选举的时候。那第二个就是说，泰国这几年的极化是蛮严重的。那对于媒体的诚信，包括媒体是变得比较不伦理了啊，不具备伦理，然后比较less professional， 然后认为说认知媒体是在 stir up issues 闹事的，也这个比例很高。那其实101我昨天跟 Ben 在聊天的时候，其实他们媒体比我们小，他只有32个人。How many people in the 101 world? 32, right? How many staffs?
About 30 staff.
Okay, about 30 staff. 但他们做了很多事情，就 101.world 还有101 pub。这是一个类似 think tank， 然后他们还做了 101 Academy， 所以我们昨天聊的时候，因为报道者就是未来在想象要做的 Reporter Academy， 所以大家想的是一件同样的事情，就是说我怎么样 go in depth， 我怎么样帮助我的读者做更多就是说不管是 media literacy 或是让他们更具备能力。好，那我们先谢谢 Ben。那第二位our second speaker is Jan Mark。He began his career as a journalist and editor, and later transitioned into a media advisor. Actually, 2 years ago, he was in Neiman, and he seems that changed his career, become a media advisor. And his colleague, his fellow is Jeping. Jeping is also in the Neiman 2 years ago. Today, he works at the intersection of journalism and technology, helping newsroom embrace digital transformation, including the adoption of AI tools and workflows. That's welcome, Mark.
Hi, it's me again. All right. So I've been talking about my work in the past, so I'm going to keep talking about my work to help tell you the story of trust, at least in the Philippine context. So before I left GMA, we had, you can see this in your pamphlet, it might be too small for the screen. We had a brand trust score of 74% according to Reuters. So that's very high, right? The trust rating for the Philippines was only around 40%, less than 40%. So now the rating for GMA is still around 70%, but back then it was 74%. And we felt that I'm using the 2022 figure, not just because that's the figure before I left, but also that's a figure right after the pandemic. And during the pandemic, we found that we were having record number of viewership both for our website and for our videos on the different platforms, right? And our numbers would spike whenever there's some new news about COVID-19 and what its effect is on our audience. So when there's a new variant, for example, our viewership and our website traffic would spike up. Whenever there's a new announcement about the lockdown, if it's going to stay or if it's going to be relaxed, we would have a spike in our viewership, right? And that would also happen whenever there are typhoons, whenever there is calamities around the world, whenever someone died, our numbers would spike up, right? Which meant that when our audience was looking for facts, they would come to us because they trusted us. Okay. 2022 is very important because we had our presidential elections that year. And the curious thing is that during those elections, during the campaign, we didn't see a spike in traffic for some reason, okay? So even though it was a heated campaign, we weren't seeing a spike in traffic. And the top presidential candidate, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the son of the former dictator, he actually skipped all media interviews. He skipped our debate. And yet he ended up winning a landslide victory in the elections without answering a single critical question from the most trusted newsroom in the Philippines. Right? So it seems paradoxical, that trust, right? Why wouldn't they go to us for news about politics? So that's something I don't have a clear answer to. But when I talk about it with my colleagues from back home, I tell them, maybe they go to us when it's a matter of life and death. And electing a president for our audience is not a matter of life and death. Right? It is very interesting. More research have studied those elections. And what they found is that because of the political operations that happened on social media during those elections, what happened was there became two parallel public spheres for the national discourse. And so legacy media like us, even though we enjoyed a large amount of trust, we stopped being the gatekeepers for political information, right? And so many partisans, many people who were into the elections actually skipped the coverage from the traditional media and got their news directly from the politicians themselves, whoever they were a fan of. And so that's how a candidate can win the elections without answering a single critical question from the media. It's very interesting. Now, my slides are in the wrong order, I'm sorry. A problem we're dealing with right now, as Mr. Ben already mentioned, is news avoidance. The Philippines is second only to India in terms of news avoidance. So it's something that we Okay, they're cutting off my mic already. All right. All right. So that's something we have to contend with, even though we have high trust, right? Is that they come to us when they need facts, but they don't need facts all the time. And so that's a challenge for media organizations, even those with high trust ratings, to keep making themselves relevant to their audiences. Now, after AI, I mentioned to you already, I went to Harvard, studied AI. A lot of the findings of the academe when it comes to AI in misinformation is paradoxical. They actually think the fears of AI in misinformation is overstated. So there's good news. Like in the Philippines, this happened. We just had another elections in 2025. The good news is AI did not have much impact in terms of misinformation for the elections. The bad news is it's because the social media is already flooded with so much misinformation that they didn't need to do AI anymore. Okay, so that's what's happened. And that's what people are finding in their scientific studies about the information ecosystem. AI misinformation actually isn't expanding the influence of news pages that spread misinformation that much because they're also competing with the content that bad actors are putting out there. So that's been very interesting. I don't know if it's going to change down the line if AI misinformation gets better. But as of right now, there are some examples, but they're very expensive to do. And so what I found when I was at Harvard, the researchers were saying most of the pieces of misinformation are actually cheap fakes, not deep fakes. And so you'll see this in your Twitter if you're very online. They'll get footage from old conflicts, old wars, and try to present it as new because that's cheaper to repost than AI. You've seen it in Israel-Iran, Israel-Gaza, and even other conflicts around the world. Now, it's funny because recently there was a big case of AI-generated misinformation in the Philippines. And let me show it to you. It's the one on the right. What happened? All right. Let's figure this out. Okay. Display the one on the right. The right.
Excuse me, pwede ba kitang matanong? Yes po. Pabor ka ba sa impeachment ni VP Sara? No. Bakit? Because it is obviously politically motivated. I mean, maraming may confidential funds sa gobyerno, iba nga billions pa. But why single out the VP? They want justice, but their justice is selective. If these politicians are really serious in cleaning up the government, then investigate all at isama na nila mga sarili nila.
All right. Okay. Please go back to the last. Please go back to the last slide. Okay. The interesting thing about that video, number one, yes, it looks impressive, but if you look more closely, it's obviously AI, right? Because there's a shiny sheen to it. There are no tuk-tuks in Manila, right? In Manila, we do jeepneys and tricycles. And so if you're from Manila, you obviously recognize that's AI being racist, thinking all brown people are the same, right? Okay. And then if you look at the name tags, it's garbled text. So it's very obviously AI. And this piece of misinformation was shared by a man named Ronald Bato de la Rosa, who is a senator of the Republic of the Philippines, right? So that's already a problem. Number one, it's either he's too dumb to know that it's AI, or he's too evil to, care about what AI is. Now, the system worked. After he posted it, he got bashed a lot on his comments, right? People were calling him dumb for falling for AI, right? And media was quick to action. Media immediately fact-checked. And for once, Meta actually made a move. They flagged it for false information. And most of the 40,000 reactions there are laughing at the senator, right? So that's an example of the system actually working. If you share misinformation, you'll be fact-checked, right? And you'll be ridiculed. Now, here's the problem. What was his reaction after people confirmed that it was false, right? He doubled down on it, right? I don't care if it's AI. The message is true. That's why I believe it, right? Now, to my eyes, I don't think that's an AI problem anymore. The problem is a person problem. It's a people problem. And that's a harder problem to solve than just AI. Because the AI part of the problem, we already solved. Now, I think, and I want you to consider this, I think a lot of the problems that AI will bring in terms of trust and our information ecosystem are going to be people problems. One of this is what experts called way back in 2018, they called it the liar's dividend, which is the concept that as more and more people become aware that you can fake things using AI, people will try to escape accountability for their actions by claiming that it was AI. In previous versions of my presentations, my favorite example was a politician from Taiwan who was caught leaving a hotel with a woman who wasn't his wife, and apparently he claimed that it was AI. Okay, so you might remember that in your news reports. But it makes media more vulnerable to accusations of not vetting our information or contributing to the misinformation that's out there. And there are some media outlets that are really to blame, right? After ChatGPT was released in 2023, there were a bunch of media outlets who used AI to write articles. And the problem was that the articles were full of errors. And of course, they got criticized for it. And apparently, not everyone has learned their lesson. So even now in 2025, newspapers are still publishing AI-generated content without vetting everything that's in it, right? And they also got criticized and bashed for it. And it turned into a demoralizing development for their newsrooms, right? And so, like I said earlier this morning, our job never changes. Our job is still publishing what's true. And these are examples of how AI can undermine the trust and the relationship that we build with our audiences. Attitudes about AI in journalism, audiences are more comfortable with text more than videos and photos. But the interesting thing about this surveys is that they don't take it into account people from Asia. Most of the surveys are from certain parts of the West. And so we need to understand our audiences better to figure out also their comfort levels with AI. So in the Philippines, most people are comfortable, a third are comfortable with different use cases of AI, including summarization, translation, and news alerts. So we're getting there. Here's an example of news presenters using translation from The Economist. Can you play the left one?
Some new scientific ideas are swirling around that could explain one of the biggest mysteries in the universe. What is dark matter?
Okay.
Everything you can see when you look up into... Algunas nuevas teorías científicas podrían explicar uno de los mayores misterios del universo. ¿Qué es la materia oscura?
Okay. All right. What's interesting in this experiment, The Economist did it. The English one is original, and then they used AI to do a Spanish language translation. And for some reason, I don't know why, you'll have to ask them. They only published the Spanish AI-generated one on TikTok, right? I don't know, maybe they think that TikTok users will be more accepting of AI-generated translations. But that's actually a strategy that newsrooms could experiment with. Please play it. Okay. So, yeah, please play that.
Lunch was ready when we arrived. Matobato had prepared humba, the Visayan version of pork adobo, the night before. It was too early to eat, so we sat on benches in the open air. I turned on my recorder and asked him to tell me his story.
All right, this is a long video. This is 30 minutes where I used AI to turn a 3,000-word investigative report into a 30-minute video. I used AI for the voice, the animation, the images, and all I did was the editing, right? So what's interesting when I talk about the audiences, when we release this video, number one, most journalists thought the images were very powerful. Most of the images were very powerful because I used illustrations. I didn't use photorealistic images, right? The most pushback we got was from artists because they don't think you should use generative AI in any part of your production. So that's also an important data point. But I was talking to a professor from CUNY in New York, and he was telling his students, I think photographers are going to be safe from AI in production. But if you're an illustrator, you might want to find other skills that you could add to the production process. That's just being frank, right? The other interesting thing when it comes to trust, when I showed it to American colleagues, journalists, they found the voice very robotic because it was an AI voice. But when I had the original author listen to it, and when other Filipino journalists listened to it, they actually liked it. They asked me, oh, is this really AI? Why? Because even though it was in English, there was a very slight hint of a Filipino accent in the voice. And that was how Filipino college graduates actually spoke English, right? And so it's also very important when we're talking about AI systems to have that representation. Imagine how big of a difference acceptance is when you have representation. My time is up, but I can continue to answer your questions in our panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jamar. 刚 Jamar 谈到2022年的菲律宾开始有这种2个系统哦，就是说特别是 parallel 的世界哦。然后第二个，我不知道大家有没有注意到他刚那个表格，其实 the top 3 news avoidance 就是 India, Philippines and Thailand， 刚好就坐在我旁边哦。然后第3个就是他谈到这个 chip fake。反而是让这个 AI misinformation 没有那么 expansion 那么流行哦。那这个 chip fake 其实比较好辨识的。那当然就是说，如果你用了 misinformation 的东西，其实你的 audience 也会过来 check and balance。那最后他当然谈到了一些应用的部分，包括 AI 的 news presenters， 还有就是透过这个语言的转换到不同的平台的使用。好，那我们谢谢 Jamar。Now the third speaker is Vadi from the India Express. He's the managing editor, right? Managing editor is best known for his outstanding leadership in investigative journalism. He joins the Panama Papers project and later the Paradise and the Pandora Papers project. 所以他是一个非常优秀的 investigative journalist. And he is a very rare case that leading the digital transformation of the Indian Express. 他就是从这个 editor desk 去领导这个就是整个digital transformation. So let's welcome Vadi from the Indian Express.
Is the presentation going? Is the presentation that I had sent, is it there? The system? Okay. Oh, great, lovely. No, I think this is the first session. Okay, no problem. So I think, it helps me in many ways because, I'm not really a very good chart and PPT person because I haven't really done these. So basically, I'll use some bits from my mobile because I've jotted down stuff.
Sorry, Vadi's talking point is on this book, so you can check it out. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Great. So, before I get into, you can refer to my text in this. But before I get into that, I just wanted to paint a canvas from where I'm coming from. Having looked at journalism in close quarters for about, almost 3 decades, I get a sense that there are many pain points in the society which often get glossed over. And these pain points, these emotions are the ones which politicians, populist leaders tap into to connect with a larger audience. I'm just giving an example. Say, for instance, if during globalization, there were many people in the US who kind of were hurt, they lost their jobs. And say, if the Democrats were not really addressing them, you have a Trump who comes up and actually kind of pierces into the raw emotions of people and makes a point about, say, job losses, about white Americans kind of being left out, etc., etc. That's a very strong narrative. So this disintermediation which has happened over a period of time, and politicians always use this, the playbook is very clear. The playbook for most populist leaders is that, I represent the people's voice. We are the people, we the people is represented by me, not by the institutions that are in place. It could be the fourth estate, which is journalism, newspapers, which are kind of one institution. It could be, say, the courts, which is another institution. It could be regulators, which could be another institutions. It could be science or expertise or authority, which is another institution. A politician comes in and knocks down all of these. He's a great political leader. He says that what the people are facing, I will kind of talk for them. So this is what has happened in many parts of the country, and we have seen this happen country after country across the world. So if I look at, say, India, I'm just prefacing this to what I'm going to talk about very briefly. If I look at it in India, just before 2024 national elections, the Prime Minister in an interview to a television channel said that I don't address press conferences. So this Prime Minister hasn't really addressed press conferences, but he does give interviews to newspapers or television channels, but he doesn't give press conferences. And he said that, in quote, that it is no longer the case that media is not non-partisan. So essentially saying that media is partisan. Similarly, the leader of opposition in India is a person who doesn't give interviews. He goes and talks only to social media influencers. So social media influencers will never ask you the tough questions. The social media influencers have got huge follower base, but a leading politician from the opposition goes and talks only to a social media influencer and not to a reputed news organization. So what has happened, this disintermediation shows in their follower base across social media. So the Prime Minister has a follower of 110 million people on Twitter. He has about 45 million people on YouTube. Similarly, for the leader of oppositions also, they don't have so much as the Prime Minister, but they do have great followership. So newspapers and news media are not necessarily used by big politicians to drive home the message. It is in this context that what is happening in India. In India, there is a general saying amongst people that, whenever, all this rubbish health kind of remedies are floated around in WhatsApp groups. So we always say, oh, there is a WhatsApp university running in India. So this WhatsApp university, I'm sure, I don't know whether it's the language here, but I've seen this in India very often, that everybody says any fake news, oh, must have come from the WhatsApp university. So WhatsApp is such a dominant kind of, what shall I say, conveyor of different kinds of messages. It could be correct, it could be false. I have encountered always 90% of the news that I get on WhatsApp is false. So I'm sure that, it is not that others are not getting very similar messages. So, if I look at the Reuters Institute's 2024 report, it says that a majority, more than 50% of people in India think that WhatsApp news is not to be believed for. It is not very surprising because WhatsApp is omnipresent in India. because of, as I said in the last session, because of cheap phones and cheaper internet. Also, if you look at it, some of my colleagues actually put out those numbers about India, and it is, what shall I say? It is not surprising to me then that if most of them are looking, if 50% people are looking at YouTube for news, or if 45% people are looking at WhatsApp for news, and still Indian Express kind of newspaper or print newspaper in general is doing very well, that is some kind of a good news and a reaffirmation to me that, yes, people are going out to credible outlets of information. Print is still seen as very credible in India. Credible kind of sources of information for people to fall back on. So that was one interesting takeaway from me. But what has this led to? This has also led to, say, the governments in power or the politicians saying that there is so much of fake news in media that we need to control it. So in India, actually, last year, March 2024, the government of India said that we should set up a fact-check unit under the government, which will look at all news which is coming from digital channels and say whether it is correct or not. So all this news basically relates to, say, government and the business of the government. So they started actually stamping, and they said that, this fact-check unit was to get statutory status, and this fact-check unit would say that this news is fake. They'll put a red stamp on it, on the digital, on social media, wherever, if it has come in Facebook, if it has come in Twitter or wherever, they'll put a big red stamp saying fake news and say that this news is fake. And if the legislation, if the regulation had been passed, then it would have meant that the social media or the newspaper or the digital media would have had to remove the content from the sites. Thankfully, the very next day, the court intervened. The Supreme Court intervened and said that they stayed the regulation the very next day and said that it hurts on freedom of speech, on freedom of expression, and it cannot be passed in this manner. So, government sitting on judgment and saying that, what news is right and what news is wrong is a huge conflict of interest. Thankfully, the court intervened. But I'm not sure how the case proceeds over a period of time. I'm sure that there are very strong legal arguments for the newspaper industry. But even as the central, this is a national government which did this, but then there is a state government which has done worse. And this state government, which is a provincial government, is ruled by the opposition party, which has also said that fake news, I will decide what is fake news, and if I have decided that this is fake news, then you can face 7 years of imprisonment. So this is also a big assault on, so I'm saying on either side, we have seen that politics on either side wants to control media, wants to control the narrative, and it is leading to bigger problems. So when I look at within the industry, what has led to this, huge distrust with the government? So I see that there are, say, television channels. So there was this recent India-Pakistan conflict, and I'm sure you might be aware of it. So in the month of May, there was this huge tension between India and Pakistan. And television India went berserk. The kind of things they said where probably the Pakistani channels may not even have said. So they said that India has kind of raided Karachi. They said that the Pakistan army chief has run away from his country. They said the Pakistan army chief has disappeared, is scared. So things like this which had no basis for any information or any fact check, all these things were put out by big television news channels in India. The newspapers didn't do this. And newspapers, that's why I still think that they go back to the source, they will call up, make those 10 phone calls, but television channels get carried away. So this kind of brands the entire media, because television is so omnipresent, and it is mimicked by social media also. So you will find in social media, as Ben said, that you will find that there are people who will kind of start talking about one issue, and they will find a huge collective mass of people who subscribe to the same views and what he referred to as echo chambers or filter bubbles. This is what is happening, say, in a lot of social media as well. So, certain things which we look at when we are kind of seeing that how distrust has built up is there is the space for the middle is shrinking very clearly. More and more, I think, people want to subscribe to one view or the other. So people who've offered nuance in an argument, they are not really heard. They are not really read. So, but this is a very, very critical space for responsible media to preserve. And there are 2-3 things that we can do. Like, I have seen in my newspaper. So what is read most in my newspaper in the digital medium would be entertainment news. We all know, news about film stars, news about, new movies, etc., etc. These are the most read kind of news items on my digital web space. But in the print newspaper, they do not find any mention. We do not cover entertainment in my print. So print paper is so different, vastly different from the digital media. But then you have to have content which caters to a large section of the people which is looking for entertainment. So probably you're giving them entertainment for basically building your, what shall I say, page views and engagement time, and with the hope that some of this filters down or funnels its way into the news segments of the newspaper also, which then get traction. So I think it's a challenge and it's a battle that we are confronting every day. And the only thing that we feel is that not enough is also being done by media to kind of talk to both the sides. I think, if you don't engage with people with whose views you do not subscribe to, I think it's a losing battle. So I think that leaves us in a very challenging position. Thanks.
Thanks, Betty. 看来我们待会有很多可以讨论的，因为刚刚Gemma 跟 Betty 都谈到政治人物现在，包括在台湾都不太接受这个 mainstream media 的采访哦。那他只接受可能都接受网红的访谈。待会也许我们可以在 panel 的时候讨论一下，当政府要strong 的这个要怎么讲呢？削弱 weakening 他们在受教育，所以这个纸本的媒体还是影响力蛮大的哦。好，那我们待会再跟Betty 还有那个 Gemma 请教。好，final speaker is 黄泽斌，a veteran， 也就是老兵不死，要怎么翻呐？这个就是 the news is not dead and it's still breathing 好的作者，那barely breathing。好，那泽斌花了很久的时间，一直在做这个 key advocate。对于这个怎么样重建媒体的信任度，还有永续，然后包括怎么样转型，他一直都有很多研究。那我们是不是就把时间交给泽斌？谢谢。
好，首先我要向几位国外来的贵宾致歉我必须可能先用我的中文分享要不然我可能担心15分钟会变成30分钟那我今天呢，就是我刚才听了前面3位分享之后，我有一个很深的感触，就是说不同的国家的新闻媒体在现在面对的挑战都蛮接近的包括假新闻也好，包括整个广告市场也好，或者是说包括一些政治极化造成的对媒体造成的影响那其实在台湾也都很接近包括台湾也是有些政治人物会批评，比如说经济学人的公信力不足，鼓励大家去看卡提诺狂新闻等等之类的这有很多现象是共通是接近的。那我会聚焦在2个新闻
产业比较新的挑战，然后再分享3个我看到的怎么样去解决去对抗这2个挑战的趋势，包括国外的案例以及台湾的案例哈。好，第一个当然就是我们今天的主题有很多个，我特别会挑出2个来讲。第一个就是新闻回避。那这件事情其实在新闻产业圈里面已经谈了很久，已经过了那个否认5阶段的第5阶段了哈。那甚至大家如果知道的话，德国还有甚至有一本畅销书，就叫做《拒看新闻的生活艺术》。我还特别把它买回来研究，说它为什么会变成畅销书，我如何跟它对话哈。那它这个书腰里面上面写的说，24小时放送的时事让你恐慌、焦虑、愤怒，关掉新闻，生活不必随他人起舞，非常的有行销的动力哈。那我刚刚看完这本书之后，我发现它某一些章节的论点的确是可以说服我，可是呢，后来我又试着跟自己辩论，我发现并不像这位德国作者讲的，就是说新闻业已经不再被需要了，只要关掉电视、关掉电脑，不看新闻，生活就会变得更美好。可是这件事情也让我警觉到，那是因为我自己的背景，我会这样子跟他对话，这样子跟他辩证。可是，一般人来讲，我们很难否认，就是说，的确，我们现在是处在这样一个阶段哈。这个也是路透的数位新闻报告哈，我们可以看到各个年龄层它的对于新闻表达非常有兴趣的比例是在同步下滑的。然后更让人家担忧的是说，在仅仅10年前哈，当被问到说你过去一个星期完全没看新闻，包括从脸书、从 YouTube 看新闻都没有的，大概只有1%，各个年龄层大概都只有1%。到今年的调查，几乎各个年龄层，除了像我这种55岁以上的以外，剩下都10%或接近10%。那可以想见，就是说，经过了 COVID-19 这样，还有包括战乱啊、战争啊，还有现在贸易战啊种种不确定的因素之后，的确越来越多人他是选择离开新闻哈，这是第一个必须要让新闻产业必须要面对的现象。那第二个当然是另外一个残酷的事实哈，我会想把2个坏消息先讲完哈，然后再分享几个我认为看到值得乐观的一个方向。好，那当然最近如果关心新闻媒体的人，大概都知道说 AI 搜寻对于新闻产业造成的冲击正在开始让我们感受到它的含义哈。那这个也是路透新闻的调查，当他调查说，今年的调查问受访者说，你通常透过哪些管道看新闻？那在前几年，脸书调降那个新闻媒体的触及率之后，搜寻的导流已经早就成为新闻媒体主要的那个 traffic 的来源了哈。可是呢，大家看到当搜寻变成主要的新闻导流来源之后，这些搜寻新闻的人，他看到的东西可能跟去年跟前年不太一样哈。比如说这个，我相信这个是那个去年过世的黑武士哈。大家应该会有这样的经验，当你在 Google 上面查询有一些关键字的时候，它直接 first screen 出来的就是这样的一个内容，它是直接用 AI 去抓取的一些资料跟照片，然后可能会有一个 YouTube 影片，可是你在 first screen 上面完全没有看到新闻连结。这会造成什么样的影响呢？英国有个产业媒体 Press Gazette， 他应该是去年底就做过一个调查，他调查了2300个英国的重要的新闻关键字，后来发现，以前大概就是像左边一样，都会有一个 Top News， 然后会出现很多新闻连结。当 AI Overview 开始大量推行之后，经常包括台湾最近也开始，我相信很多人都有注意到。它直接就是从这些内容萃取，然后告诉你，就是有点像 ChatGPT 一样，告诉你很多重点。至于以前的 Top Stories 都会被压到第2个 screen 以下，这会造成什么样最实际的影响 ？Precursor 他的研究是说， 平均来讲，只要有出现 AI overview， 它的第一条新闻连结会被往下压980个 pixel， 差不多就是一个萤幕高度。然后他这个研究同时又研究了，就是说，当新闻连结出现在最上面 top story 的第一条的时候，通常它会引来40%的点阅，就是100个人搜寻这个页面，会有40个人点进第一个 click。可是当它下降了一个萤幕高度之后，第一条新闻连结流量剩下5%，会点进来只剩下5%，这个是一个非常大的冲击哈。那尤其大家刚才看到，大部分人现在看新闻最长的使用的管道是变成是因为搜寻，那怎么办呢？那现在又要我就大概去看了一下国外在讨论的过程里面，他们有哪一些想要解决这2件事情的方法。那我归纳出来3个比较共同我看到的现象。不好意思，后来他们就发现，就是说你某种程度上，它反映了一个社会趋势，然后它反映了从疫情以来，还有包括各种战乱，包括经济的不稳定，造成有一些人他的确是开始远离新闻。那他们有一个趋势，国外媒体有一个趋势是用好新闻，这个好新闻应该是说好消息 （good news） 来吸引他们回来。那比如说，南非最大的新闻网站叫 2025， 它就开始会有一个栏目，就叫 Good News， 然后我们去采访一些正面积极的案例，可是并不代表说他们就放弃了一些原本的监督啊，或者是揭弊的功能。他们里面讲得很好，他那个我看他们有一个在一个像这样论坛的分享，他就那个总编辑就表示说，当我们只看到这个国家不好的那一面的时候，会让很多人觉得沮丧、无所适从，所以他们希望做这个平衡。然后每年4月1日愚人节，当所有的人大家都在网络上面贴那些嘲弄的啊、开玩笑、恶作剧的讯息的时候，他们把4月1号定为 Good News Day， 他们就是把那4月1号，他们就会有系统的去报道南非这个国家有哪些地方的确是在变好，而且有哪些人是在付出努力哦。那另外当然还有一个例子，我印象比较深刻，就是加拿大最大的Global Mail 哈这个媒体，他们也有采取类似的路径，他们开了一个编辑会议去脑力激荡，然后他们也做了焦点团体的调查，他们说的确他们发现现代的读者，尤其是年纪越轻的青少年、青少女，焦虑或者是depressed 的那个比例越来越高。那这个跟台湾其实有类似的情况，大家如果有兴趣可以去看少年报道者最近也做过类似的调查。所以说环球邮报他就开完这个动脑会议之后，他们就增加了一些新的路线，就是像上面写的，它基本上它也是聚焦在一些比较正面积极，然后可以 inspire 读者的一些内容。那大家可能有听过，或 BBC 曾经把新闻的功能分成6个象限，其中一个就是 inspire me。然后这些媒体不约而同认为，就是说，在现在这个时代 ，inspire me 这个功能，它是应该更被凸显的。除了传统的刚才讲到揭弊啊、调查报道啊等等之类的，所以说开始会有用意。然后这2个媒体做过这样的改变之后，它的效果是非常明显的，包括整个触及率啊，包括读者的回响啊，或者说点阅流量都回来哦。那我也可以举一个台湾的例子，就是我服务的那个天下杂志。天下杂志在最近上个月做了一个周年特刊，它是以职人报道职人精神为主题，他专门就想去报道找了25个台湾各行各业。大部分都不是很有名的人，然后去报道他们的工作。那原本天下内部是很担心说原本大家都知道天下原本都报道那个什么大老板啊、企业大老板张忠谋啊等等之类，忽然去这一整本都报道一些默默无闻的，就是不出名的人，会不会读者很不适应或效果很差？结果 出乎意料，就是反应非常好，尤其是在网络上面，不管触及也好，反应也好，或者是流量最高的两篇人物报道，一个是洗碗工，就是饗宾集团，就是台湾一个知名buffet连锁的他们的洗碗工去报道他们是怎么样去工作，如何在每一个餐期，就是每个用餐时段里面要负责洗250个顾客的1500个碗盘，他们是怎么样去做到？怎么样去确保这些1500个碗盘都是干净？这篇流量是第2高的，第1高的是一个高雄医学大学的专门教解剖学的老师，他的故事，他怎么样30年来教很多医学系的学生去做解剖大体。以这个例子来告诉大家，就是说，类似这种 inspire me 的新闻，它是有价值的哦。然后，而且它的确是可以打动人心，引起一些回响的。这个是第一个。第2个的话，当然就是我们必须要去面对一个现实啊。这个现实写在上面，我就不讲哈。反正大概就是过去来讲，大概专业媒体会把跟所谓的自媒体或网红变成视为对立的2个概念。可是在这个时代，刚才也有朋友提到，这个时代等于是我们必须要去面对这样的一个趋势，就越来越多年轻人，他基本上他是透过 news 新闻网红获得讯息的。我自己过去3年常到学校去演讲，我也得到类似的 feedback。通常我会跟他们讲，尤其有时候碰到一些国中生或高中生，我问他说他最喜欢的新闻网红是谁？当他说馆长的时候，我就说你要不要试试看去看志祺七七？我给他们功课，我给他们一个 homework， 就是你去比较一下馆长跟志祺七七，一样是以广义的新闻网红，他们2个有什么不一样？那可是我们必须要认知，就是说在这样一个时代里面，新闻媒体必须要重新去思考一些事情。这个是美国2位也是数位媒体的策略顾问他们就针对这件事情写了一个文章啊，包括就是说新闻媒体是不是应该要想办法开始跟网红做协作？那最近有一个很好的例子，是我相信很多人都有看过，那个自由记者刘志兴他去乌克兰采访，然后志兴去乌克兰采访，好，还好没有讲错啊。就是他在文字的部分，他跟报道者合作，可是他在网络影音的部分，他去跟哈哈台，他找了哈哈台一起合作。看过也知道哈哈台的朋友请举手。现在大对，谢谢大家都知道。就是说，大家有兴趣可以，如果我们还没看过影片的那个朋友，大家可以去看那个影片。我觉得这个就是一个非常好的专业记者跟所谓的网红媒体或自媒体合作的一个案例。他达成了就是说，他可以打破原本的。你要说同温层也好，就是它基本上它有一个非常好的破圈的效应。那其中这2位顾问提到的第8项我也很喜欢，他说 trust is earned not given， 就是我们传统媒体人都会有一种傲慢，说专业记者、专业媒体是比较值得信赖的，网红是比较不值得信赖的。在某一些情况下是，可是在某一些情况下，这句话不见得是成立的。所有的信任，不管你是自媒体也好，不管你是专业媒体也好，所有的信任都要靠自己去努力争取的哈。好，最后当然就是用这个当结尾，就第3个路径就是这是以台湾这是以台湾为例就是台湾最近有一群老师然后跟新闻产业一起合作，然后去希望推动一项法案，可以让目前这整个新闻产业失衡的现况可以获得一些改变。像我出去演讲的时候，我跟很多朋友提到，就是说台湾的数位广告有大约70%是 Google 跟 Meta 这2家公司所包办的。很多人很惊讶，很多人不知道。可是这背后除了代表是整个生态系的一个失衡之外，我认为这个也是一个很重要的社会沟通。包括就是说，很多人对于所谓的新闻基金的想象不一样，包括新闻产业有4大工会，每一个人对新闻基金的想象不太一样。怎么样让未来这样的一个倡议，对于法案的倡议，可以让跨国科技平台它在台湾赚的广告费，可以有一部分可以促进台湾的媒体产业、媒体市场变得更健康，能够提供更多的公共服务。我觉得这是未来1-2年我们会看到这个法案在 不断的讨论跟争论的时候，我们会去接触到的事实。以上是我今天跟大家的分享，谢谢。
谢谢哲斌。那哲斌刚刚谈到一个非常惊人的，就是说 SEO 的改变嘛，就是说当这个980像素等于是一个荧幕高度降下来的时候，其实你的新闻就是人家不一定会 scroll 到下面。那他也谈到就是一些好的例子，包括 good news， 还有其实读者很需要在这样的沮丧的时代，很需要 inspiring。那就是很谢谢哲斌的分享。现在其实 Slido 上有一些提问，我想先这个我都会问了哈，因为我们现在有30到35分钟的时间，现在算是足够的。我想要先从2个题目，就大家放心，我都会问哈。那如果你们还有任何的提问，你可以举手，然后也可以写在 Slido 上。我想要先从2个跟政治比较有关的题目来着手。这个是说 ，How do you view populist politicians manipulating anti-elite sentiment, which in turn leads to attacks on media considered elite, and the public even mocking the media's dissemination of knowledge or theory？ 我想，Gemma 刚刚有谈到，那 Vadi 有谈到 ，Vadi 特别是 cover 了 political news for a long time, right？ 那 Ben 有兴趣，Ben， Yeah. OK， 因为还在 translation 嘛。So Betty, you want to go first?
What was the question? Sorry, I couldn't catch it properly.
Oh, really? Okay. How do you view populist politicians manipulating anti-elite sentiment?
Yeah.
And which this way leads to attacks on legacy media.
Yeah, I think in India we have seen that media, I think, there are sections, media is like, the problem with media is like there is one part of media which does something bad, and then the entire media gets branded as bad. So that is one major issue. So say, for instance, if television is giving fake news, then it is every news media is giving fake news, because television is so synonymous to news in India. In television, you will see between 8 and 10 p.m. in the evening, there are 14 people on the screen and all of them are shouting at each other and nobody is listening to the other person. So there is just noise. There is no news there. So that is one problem. Second is, I think in India, we have also seen that there is partisan media in India. You will find that there are news organizations which are there are strategies also within an organization. Say, for instance, a media organization has a television channel and a newspaper. So the television channel will promote the ruling party. The newspaper will promote the opposition. So the people are also kind of trying to understand what's happening. This is one media group which has got two formats of giving news, television and news and newspaper. Both of them are kind of behaving in a completely different manner. So they are very confused what is correct and what is not. So there is some bit of looking within. There are news organizations where, see, governments in every country today are very tough governments. So I have to be very careful when I am writing news. Whenever I am writing news, I have to ensure that every piece of information in the news that I am writing is correct. There is very little space for genuine mistakes. This the politician doesn't understand. Because if I am a reporter, it is very likely that, 1 in 1,000 times I may go wrong. But that error or mistake is not intentional. That error or mistake is not to malign the political party or to malign the government. This the government doesn't understand. So the government always will say, one mistake, you are out there to kind of destroy my reputation. So before I go to meet a minister today, so he has my entire social media profile. He knows where am I coming from. He knows all that I have posted. So he has done a thorough background check. So I think it is very important for journalists also not to have opinions on social media. I don't have an opinion on social media.
Do you have a social media account?
I have a social media account, which is a very, I lead digital transformation, so I'm very active on social media in the sense I try to put the news of my newspaper, but I don't give a view of my own. Because the minute I say that what this government is doing is wrong or what that person is doing is wrong, immediately that person will say that you see, look at what you already have a view on me. Why should I even engage with you? So I think that is some bit of, and governments have used it very well. Governments don't think that they need to talk to us. Politicians don't think that they need to talk to us, but we think that it is important to engage. So I have to ensure that despite the coverage that we do in Indian Express, Indian Express is seen as a very anti-establishment newspaper, always kind of holding the power to account. I ensure that every week somebody senior from the government, a politician, a minister, or an opposition leader, they come to my office. We have something called an idea exchange because this is where we need to engage. There is just no way not to engage.
Vedit, actually, I have some follow-up question because I read your article.
Yeah.
You said that in the last panel, you said that we have to be forward-looking, written with spunk and attitude, opinionated.
Yeah.
But you just mentioned the opposite side, that you don't give opinion.
No, I'm saying, say for instance, if there is a cricket match going on in England, if my sports editor has a view or an opinion on a particular player, if he thinks that this is not how he should have played, this is how he should have played, so he can come out and say based on facts and figures, because that comes from a lot of expertise, that comes from coverage of sports for about 30 years as a sports editor. So it comes from a place of authority. People are willing to listen to great authority, but people are not willing to listen to saying that you are good, you are bad.
Okay.
What you're doing is right, what you're doing is wrong. I think this blanket kind of branding of any action as right or wrong is where it creates problems.
Thank you. 我在想哲斌 or Ben, do you want to, and Jamar, do you want to add on this? Okay. 我们谢谢 thanks Betty. 那我们现在有另外一个内容，我觉得 follow 刚刚 Betty 说的，就是他们评论一定是基于事实的评论，而且是他可能在这个领域 cover 了很久的新闻，所以他会提出就是在自己的社群平台或者是他们的社群平台提出一些建议哦。但是这边有一位读者听众说 ，What can news media learn from the fans culture of singers, sports stars, politicians, and celebrities to enhance trust with their audience？其实这个牵涉蛮多，也是我们现在媒体新闻界新闻室里面一直在自己问自己的 ：Are we journalists or are we influencers？ 我不知道，就是哲斌、Ben 还有Jamar 有没有什么想要先回答的 ？OK。
Yes, it's a very good question. Fan culture is very powerful. I think the first thing is we should learn how these personalities engage with their audiences and why they end up having this bond, right? I mean, forget other personalities, but think about influencers and how are they able to create a bond on social media? Some would say it's because of their authenticity. It's about their honesty. It's about, knowing their audience and what their audiences are interested in. For when it comes to fan culture, like it has happened with news media where you have super fans and you have a community that you can build. At GMA, for example, we have a community we call UScoop, which is our citizen journalism platform, and we have hundreds of thousands of contributors. So whenever there's a storm, whenever there's a fire, they would come to us and send us photos of that, and obviously it's still our job to verify, but that's part of the engagement, right? And so what we can learn, I think, is that it's no longer just a one-way street where we're a mass medium, we're broadcasting to them. It becomes more of a conversation. Obviously you can't do it one-to-one all the time, but you have to be aware of what your community is saying. So the first thing we should do is figure out what community we are serving, and then take it from that.
2年多前，我那时候访问泛科学的郑国威他把整个泛科学从一个网站加 Facebook 转型成 YouTube， 他自己进来当 YouTuber， 然后他就说，他在早5年前，如果有人问他对他 YouTuber 的看法，他会认为YouTuber 很中二那没想到他有一天也变成一个中二的 YouTuber。那我要讲的是说，随着整个传播趋势，还有社群平台的趋势，有时候变成我们是被身为一个认真的，我强调是认真负责的传播者、资讯传播者，我们有时候必须要去理解当下的趋势是什么，世代的趋势是什么，你必须要去做出一些改变。那至于刚才这位朋友的问题，就是如何learn from the fan culture， 我最近也访问了法白，就是法律白话语运动的桂智跟洛毅，他们也讲了一个很能够回答这个问题。他说，法白的核心是他们的 podcast， 然后可是他们也有经营 IG， 经营其他的社群平台，可是他就说他们的 IG 几乎只能够给他们带来流量，可是真正会来参加他们的付费活动，真正会来买他们的书籍或周边商品的，都是听他们 podcast 的人，就是这一群人才是粉丝。还有包括在路上认出他们两个，会跟他们两个打招呼，都是 podcast 听众，没有一个是说因为 IG 过来的。那这件事情其实就告诉我们，就是说，包括法白他们就在讲说，他们怎么样经营这个平台，就是说他们会把法白变成一个舞台，然后小心翼翼的去，我用他们的原句，小心翼翼的去维护这个品牌的公信力。可是这个舞台上面一定要有那个吸引人的、有 charisma 的演员，才能够吸引那些愿意真正成为核心粉丝、真正成为付费的人。而像杨贵智他现在是一个职业律师，他还要花很多时间去打官司，可是他也要花很多时间去经营他的粉丝。还有刘若毅，他们两个就是在扮演舞台上面的演员这样一个角色。意思就是说，舞台必须在，可是在这个时代，机构信赖已经，尤其是越年轻的世代，机构信赖已经往往没办法比得上个人信赖。很多人认识个人品牌，而不是机构品牌。所以说，即使像天下或报道者，都还有相对来讲不错的一个媒体品牌。可是我们以天下来讲，也一直很努力的在经营 podcast 的、经营 YouTube 等等之类的。这个某种程度上，你也可以说，它就是在从自媒体或者是从网红身上去学习怎么样去经营一个有凝聚力的社群。这是我的分享，谢谢。
好，谢谢哲斌。那 Ben 可能要跟我们分享一下，也是跟这一题 related， 就是do you think that journalists today need to have a strong public persona because you are holding a YT channel and also podcasts, or should you avoid becoming online influencers?
Yes. First, I agree with with the two who's speaking before me. Yes, we need to learn how creative and how attractive the influencers are. Like how do they create the content that can attract so many people. That is the one that the journalists need to learn. But I think what differentiates between journalists and influencer is that like journalists need to maintain higher quality, need to maintain higher standard of integrity. I don't say that influencer is bad, yeah, but because we are journalists, so we need to to uphold it in the higher standard. And yeah, as Shirley said, like I'm the one who did a YouTube program, who did a podcast program. At first I just show up on podcast with just my voice, only my voice. But then when people turn more to influencers, we also need to adapt. Like I need to change the platform from podcast to Facebook. I didn't abandon podcast, we still have, but we have we add YouTube as another platform in order to show up my face. And also on the program poster, like we also need to add up my face in order to make people recognize more of my personality. Like this is the way we try to adapt. But last night I have a discussion with Shirley, and Shirley asked me, do I consider myself a journalist or online influencers? So I respond to her immediately that I'm a journalist. Yeah, because as what I said before, I believe that I have a responsibility to uphold higher standard and to uphold higher integrity. Like when every time when I'm doing every episode of the podcast program, like I don't just summarize the news. I don't just do a kind of explanatory things like but what I do is that I research a lot about what I'm going to say. I even read the research paper. I even read the book in order to provide the most informative knowledge to the audience. And sometimes I also get to the field trip. I also interview with other people, interview with the expert who know very well about this issue to make sure, in order to make sure that the audience will get the most of the knowledge I provided.
好，那其实我跟那个哲斌刚刚讲的也有一些就是心心相印，就是我发现大家一直在讲说区别influencer 跟新闻室的差别就在于有没有 newsroom 的这个 check and balance。但是我也是跟很多 podcaster 合作以后，我才发现有些真的有 newsroom 的没有在 check。但是有些 podcaster 他非常认真在 check 他的内容，所以我想还是 good quality。Good content, good journalism 这件事情，它的确这个 border 在打破，但是最重要的还是那个 quality control 这件事情。好，那这边有一题是要问，可能就是看你们哪一位有兴趣，就是怎么样看 AI 的运用，特别是在现在的媒体的影音或影像，特别是刚刚 Gemma 也秀了很多的 video。那现在台湾的新闻业已经在运用 AI 来生成图片。或者是配影音，但是并不是捏造事实，而是降低成本，可能是摄影的成本，或者是加快影音的制作的速度。那你们觉得这样会造成什么样的影响？什么？
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for AI in production, you have to have two conversations. The first conversation you have to have is with your audience and what they're comfortable with. Like I mentioned, some might be comfortable with just the voice, that's AI. Others might be comfortable with newsreaders. The second conversation you have to have is with your team, with your staff, right? What are they comfortable also doing? I think that needs to be a conversation between reporters and editors, editorial team members, and tech people and business people and product people. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of fear and anxiety on the end of those who work in newsrooms, right? We're always the first to get the axe. And so there's this new technology that promises to replace us. And so there has to be that conversation, like Hukum is doing, where they made it clear that it's an augmentation tool and not a replacement, not an automation tool. And so by clearly laying out the parameters of how you're going to use the technology, I think you're doing your journalists a favor as well. Before you go into, dive deep into it, you have to have those conversations, both with the people who will consume your content and who will interact with it, and the people who will create it.
Thank you. And the next question is for Betty. You mentioned the Kashmir War. It seems that there are a lot fake news oriented the public opinions. Who are blamed for, media or government?
I think, publishing any information which is fake, I would always blame the media. Because, governments or politicians are there to always keep influencing you about things. That it is their job to push propaganda. It is their job to tell you half-baked truths. If it is their job to tell you, to misinform you. So I think at the end of the day, it is the responsibility of the media to kind of verify the facts and then publish it. So it is very clearly, I would say, even if the government is pushing propaganda or other things, it is for the media to fact check and then report. So it is the media to be blamed.
Okay, you can still put up your questions. And now I have a question for all of you. In a polarized world, do you think that we journalists have the urgency to talk to the people with different ideas, with different understanding of facts, even with different understanding of the world or ideologies? If yes, why? If no, why? If yes, how? And if no, why? But I heard that you have very interesting observation.
No, so I seriously think that a newspaper is a daily affair. It is a conversation in continuum. It is not a conversation stopper. So the day you close the doors for listening to any side, I think you are closing the conversation. If you have already decided in your mind that the other view is not the right view, and I should not publish it, and I should not engage with it, then I have stopped that view from being expressed. I think this hurts journalism the most. The other view has to be heard, the other view has to be questioned. So in Harvard, say for instance, we would always have the most, what shall I say, obnoxious speakers also welcomed, provided they are willing to be questioned. So you cannot come and give a speech and say that that's over. I will not take any questions. So you have to take questions, because my personal understanding and also belief is that conversations or dialogues or discussions would only enrich or bring more clarity to a particular issue. And there is a possibility that the other side also listens to you and kind of comes a middle ground.
I have a follow-up question. I think in the Indian Express is more liberal, right?
Yeah.
In the democratic countries, a lot of news outlets are maybe left-wing.
Yeah.
So when your staff, so your journalists, they are more liberal, how do you persuade them to listen to the right-wing's opinions?
That is a huge challenge. I think in most newsrooms, I think even in the Indian Express newsroom, it is a challenge, because you will see that most journalists in Indian Express, are very liberal, socially liberal. They would not understand conservative ideologies. But India is a very traditional culture. It's got a heritage of its own. The elephant doesn't move so easily there. So when you have very strong liberal views, you have to understand when a politician, say for instance, I'll tell you one very hot issue in India is, which is also going on in the courts, is about, say, gay marriages. In India, the laws were such that gay relationships were actually criminalized. You could face arrest, but now they have been decriminalized. Now there is a demand that the civil union should be allowed, that they should be allowed to marriage, they should be allowed to adopt, they should be allowed to bequeath property. So that is the next kind of frontier that civil society is pushing for. And Indian Express is also very cognizant of that. It's as you said, that it's a very socially liberal organization. But then in this conversation, can I not listen to the conservatives? If I do not listen to the conservatives, then I don't even know why they are opposing it. I don't even know whether I can move the needle in one manner or the other. So I think, and that's what the continuous, say, drive in Indian Express is about, right from the chief editor, who's my editor. The newsroom has to have people who have different sets of ideas, who will differ with you inside the newsroom. So in terms of diversity also, in terms of gender, in terms of, say, in India, just like race in the America, in India we have caste. So you need to have diversity, you need to have people with different ideologies to speak out and discuss these things.
I think there must be a lot of debates in your newsroom. Yeah. Jean-Marc, how is your opinion?
GMA, when I was working there, occasionally we would I'm sorry, can you repeat? I just...
The polarized word.
Right.
So
sorry.
Each side.
When I was working there, we would sometimes get criticism for not taking sides. A lot of our slogan back then when I was working there was "Walang kinikilingan," which means we're not taking any sides. But in fact, we would try to explain to our audiences that it is an exercise in fairness. It's not necessarily about objectivity, because no one can be completely 100% objective, right, as a personality. But during the journalistic process, the process you apply, I think it needs to be 100% fair, right? You may not agree with someone else regarding their opinion, but you have to be fair in your reporting about the issue. And so that becomes our bedrock, right? That even though, yes, obviously as journalists, as individuals, we may have our biases, but the process of journalism cannot change, right? Even though we might not like the subject that we cover. And it's obviously an issue if, you can't be fair to a political candidate who is, the son of a dictator, right? And so there's so much history there, but you still have to cover that campaign objectively.
Okay, thank you. Ben?
Okay. For our media, the 101.world, we can say that we are liberal. Yeah, we are on the left side. But when we work, we try to stay neutral. Actually, you asked like how to engage the people in a wide spectrum of ideology in this polarized world. So I give you some example. Like we have an interview program, or sometimes we have interview article. So we try to make sure that we could invite a wide spectrum of politicians or those who have different ideologies, regularly to have a talk to us. And we believe that doing this can help reach the audience in the wider spectrum, because for example, if we can invite those from the conservative side to talk to us, maybe the fan of those speakers would come to listen to us more, something like that. And a group of the people we try the most to engage to them, or to get them to have interview with us, are those who we call like the smart conservative, or in other words, they are the conservative who are like reasonable, who can talk based on the fact, talk based on the academic knowledge, right? And it can, and to do this, it can help people on the liberal side, can listen to them. Like we can let the liberal people listen more to the conservative side, right? And also to get smart conservative in our platform, we could we could talk about our common ground, right? For example, in Thailand we have a very controversial debate about the lèse majesté law. I'm not sure you know or not, but lèse majesté law is the law that criminalizes those who condemn or blame the king. Yes, and it has very harsh penalty. Yeah, we have the debate on this, whether it should be this law should be amended or changed or not, right? We have debated on this because the conservative always resist to amend this, because they because they think it would destroy the monarchy if we amend this law. So but there are some conservative, some of them agree to amend this law, because they think that to remain it is bad for the monarchy than maintaining it, something like that. We let the conservative discussing about this with us. Yes, and the other point is that I think actually it is still hard for the media to reach out to the people who are on the different side of views. I think it's still hard because of the algorithm of the platform, because that create the echo chambers or the filter bubbles. So I think we also need to ask for the accountability of social media platform as well, right? How can they can they change the algorithm to make this problem become lessen, something like that. We need to talk to platform as well.
OK， 还有2个问题，我想就是待会请 OK， 还有一点点时间了哈。Jean-Marc, how do you think that AI replace the translators in the newsroom?
Yeah, so 2 things, no? It's not necessarily a bad thing if AI replace translators. An example is when I was running GMA, we had a news website that's in English, and we published, we produced videos that are in Filipino. And so I had a staff whose only job was to listen to news reports that have already been reported, and all they do is turn it into an English language article. Now, these are kids who graduated from journalism school, whose only job is to stay in the office and translate, right? I think, honestly, their time would be better off if they were out on the field doing original reporting rather than doing that translation of something that has already been reported, right? The value they add is very little, but it's so much work, right? So I think for that use case, I wouldn't be opposed to having AI as a translator there if that means that person can go out and do reporting.
Not fire them.
Yeah, not fire them. No, definitely not. The other thing is that it's not yet ready for prime time for many languages. Like I did a workshop in Hong Kong a couple of months ago. The text to voice for Mandarin was very good, but Cantonese was very bad. They all laughed when I showed them what it sounded like. And that's true for many regional languages in this region. It's not a priority for many big tech companies. And so that I think for that use case, many translators would still need to be there for that job.
Okay, the time is up. And I think each of you can give us 30 seconds to share that how to inspire the floors. I think a lot of the students and journalists and the professors, when we are standing on the quicksand, we need inspiring.
Okay. So I think if it's for journalists, I think that I have a very one of my colleagues who did this Panama Papers investigation with me, Frederick Obermeyer, he was the person who received the entire kind of load of content which became this global investigation, winning a Pulitzer. So he wrote a book on Panama Papers and he gave it to my son. And he wrote that if you want to be a good journalist like your father, ask the question, whenever your father tells you that I love you, please ask him for evidence.
It's too cruel.
I don't know how I can follow that. I don't have a story like that. Yeah. I'm very inspired by today's gathering. So there are a lot of young people here who stayed the whole day. You would think that they would be bored by our conversations, but no, they stayed. They had very good questions. And it's the same thing I'm seeing around the region. There are so many young people who, despite everything you hear about the media, are still keen to take, journalism majors for college or get into the journalism industry. We don't know why, but I think it behooves us, those who are in senior positions, to keep these people inspired, because obviously, at its very best, the work that we do as journalists can be really fulfilling and really inspiring. And I think it's going to be up to us to keep that flame burning for the next generation, so they can continue the noble work that we do.
Learn from young people. Thank you. Ben?
Yeah, like last night I discussed with Shirley, and Shirley asked me whether the journalist job in Thailand is still attractive, right? You asked me, and I answered suddenly, no, it's not attractive anymore in Thailand. And I'm not sure in Taiwan, but in Thailand, it's
the same.
The same, really. In Thailand, it's of course low-paid job, and we also struggling in high competition, struggling in many challenges. But I would like all of you who wanna be a journalist or who are already in a journalism industry, because I think this is the time of the historical turning point of the journalism career, right? We are in the process of transformation, right? Because of a lot of factors, like because of what we discussed all the day, AI algorithms, and etc. So I hope you will stay in the era of this turning point, and you would be the one who could help shape what the future of journalism should be.
Ben, you are now 32, so 5 years later, we will invite you come back and see if you are staying.
Okay.
这边
好，我是生于那个纸本媒体时代的人哈，我唯一的生存技能就是写字。那可是呢，在这个同时，我在天下的 newsroom 里面看到很多年轻的朋友，跟在座底下很多一样年轻的朋友，他很擅长用2分钟去讲一个重要而且复杂的故事。我常常讲说，你如果要我写一个3000字的 cover story， 对我来讲不会太难。可是如果你要我用2分钟的影片去讲一个 cover story， 我就会举手投降啊。所以说，我要鼓励大家，就是说，我相信 AI 会改变新闻产业的某一些部分，可是我相信有些部分它是不会被改变的。那至于哪一些会，哪一些不会，就在于在各位的手上。那我也非常期待未来我们的新闻媒体是会越来越好的，不管它会是它的平台、它的载体、它的内容形式会是怎样。谢谢。
谢谢。我最后用1分钟结尾。2个礼拜前，报道者接到一个读者的来讯，因为张正宏我们的国际主编写了一个关于普丁的Trump 的新闻，是关于他要做这个 Palestinian 和 Israel's truce 的时候，写了一个很及时，然后也很完整的国际新闻。